Confused about how to watch the Duel on Mount Hua series? How many miniseries are there in the Duel on Mount Hua series? Which story unit or miniseries should I watch first? And what is the connection to the Legend of the Condor heroes? Don't worry, you're not alone. These questions often arise in the minds of fans of Louis Cha's or Jin Yong's Condor trilogy. This video will discuss in detail the timeline or proper order for watching this series. Duel on Mount Hua 2025 is a Tencent video series that airs exclusively on WeTV and recently premiered on July 26, 2025. Interestingly, this series isn't like a typical drama that moves in one direction. The story is divided into 4 story units, each with its own perspective and main characters, but all are interconnected and tied together by one major conflict: the struggle for the title of Greatest Warrior in Duel on Mount Hua and the struggle for the sacred Nine Yin Manual. So, if you're unsure where to start, or want to know how all of this ultimately leads to the legendary Legend of the Condor heroes, watch this video until the end. Let's get started. Duel on Mount Hua is a prequel to Jin Yong's acclaimed Condor trilogy. However, it's important to note that Duel on Mount Hua itself is not Jin Yong's original work. This video series, released in 2025, is a spin-off produced by Tencent Video and aired on WeTV. There have also been films depicting the youth of the 5 greats, but these are usually included as early episodes or flashbacks. There is also a spin-off novel, Huasan Lun Qiam, which can be found on Wattpad or other Wuxia websites. Each of these stories, both novel and video, presents its own version, so don't be surprised if you find a Duel on Mount Hua story with a different storyline than the one released in 2025. However, essentially, all versions tell the youth of the 5 great masters as they compete for the highest position in the martial arts world and the sacred 9 Yin scriptures. Connection between Duel on Mount Hua and the Condor Heroes trilogy. Duel on Mount Hua is more than just a battle between warriors. It is the starting point of a series of destinies that will shape the lives of 2 legendary protagonists in the Legend of the Condor Heroes series, Guo Jing and Huang Rong, and the return of the Condor Heroes series with the appearance of Yang Guo and Xiao Longnu. The Duel on Mount Hua series chronicles the youth of the renowned warriors known as the Great Five: Eastern Heretic Huang Yaoshi, Western Venom Ouyang Feng, Southern Emperor Duan Zhixing, who later became Reverend Yideng, Northern Beggar Hong Qigong, and Central Divine Wang Chongyang. Some of these Great Five would later become Guo Jing and Yang Guo's mentors in the Condor trilogy. The Condor Heroes trilogy. Among the many legendary wuxia tales, few have survived the generations like the Condor trilogy by Jin Yong or Louis Cha, masters of Chinese martial arts literature. The first trilogy, entitled The Legend of the Condor Heroes, tells the story of the warrior couple Guo Jing and Huang Rong, daughter of Huang Yaoshi. The second trilogy, The Return of the Condor Heroes, tells the story of the couple Yang Guo and Xiao Longnu. The final trilogy, entitled The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, stars Zhang Wu Ji and Zhao Min. The Condor trilogy, an epic masterpiece that combines martial arts, romance, and life philosophy in a timeless story. Before discussing Duel on Mount Hua in depth, let's briefly discuss each of these trilogies. The Legend of the Condor Heroes. This story is set during the early years of the Jurchen invasion of the Jin dynasty into the Song dynasty. The main character is Guo Jin, a simple and honest young man raised in Mongolia by Genghis Khan's forces. Although considered stupid and slow, Guo Jing possesses an unyielding spirit and a pure heart. His journey begins with the ambition of avenging his father's death, but over time, he becomes entangled in a major conflict between states, martial arts, and a love affair with Huang Rong, a brilliant young woman and the daughter of the eccentric Eastern heretic Huang Yaoshi. In addition to Huang Yaoshi, in this story, we also meet the other Great Five: Southern Emperor Duan Zhixing, or Reverend Yideng, Western Venom Ouyang Feng, and Northern Beggar Hong Qigong. At the end of this story, the duel on Mount Hua is held again after 20 years. There are two new names that entered the Great Fives of this generation, namely Guojing, who replaced his teacher, Northern Beggar Hong Qigong, who retired from the martial world, and old urchin Zhou Bo Tong, who replaced his senior fellow disciple, Central Divine Wang Chongyang. The return of the Condor heroes. Moving on to the next generation, we meet Yang Guo, the son of Yang Kang, the antagonist of the first trilogy, and Guojing's sworn brother. Since childhood, Yang Guo faced discrimination due to his father's bad temper. However, fate brought him into contact with Xiaolong Nu, a cold female warrior from the ancient dragon sect, who later became his teacher and soulmate. Their taboo love story between teacher and student is the heart of the story, as well as a symbol of the struggle against norms and destiny. In the midst of their love, Yang Guo grows into a legendary warrior, using his only arm and a giant eagle as his loyal companion. He becomes a symbol of freedom and courage, and a hero in the great battle against the Mongol invasion. Tragedy, sacrifice, and forgiveness surround this entire story until Yang Guo became known as the Eagle Warrior. At the end of this story, the duel on Mount Hua is also held again. This time, Yang Guo entered as a new name in the Great Fives of this generation, replacing his adoptive father, West Venom, who had died. The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. 100 years after the story of Yang Guo, the martial arts world is once again thrown into chaos by the emergence of two legendary weapons, the dragon-slaying sword and the Heaven Saber. These swords are highly sought after among the martial arts community because they not only contain a war strategy manual written by the legendary Song Dynasty general Yu Fei, but also the long-contested Nine Yin manual. The main character in this story is Zhang Wuji, the son of a Wudong disciple and grandson of the founder of the Ming sect. Wuji grew up amidst suffering and emotional pain, but destiny led him to master the rare Nine Yang manual and the Heaven and Earth Great Shift, becoming an unrivaled warrior. Amidst the great conflict between martial arts sects and imperial politics, Wuji is also caught in a love dilemma with four women: Zhao Min, Zhao Zhiro, Xiao Zhao, and Yin Li. This story serves as a magnificent conclusion to the trilogy, with its overarching themes of power, destiny, love, and sacrifice. Chang Wuji, despite being capable of becoming emperor or ruler of the martial world, chose a peaceful path and disappeared with the woman he loved. In this story, there is no longer the duel on Mount Hua. Zhang Wuji is considered the strongest warrior because he defeated elders from various renowned martial arts schools. The Condor Trilogy is more than just a kung fu story. It is a reflection of human complexity, about love that transcends rules, justice that is not always absolute, and true strength that comes from a pure heart. From the simple yet tenacious Guojing, to the wild yet loyal Yang Guo, to the compassionate yet fragile Zhang Wuji, these three generations of heroes left a lasting mark on the history of Chinese fiction. And for true Wuxia fans, their stories will live on forever, like the rustling wind on the peaks of Mount Hua, where true warriors carved their legends.
Chronological order of the Duel on Mount Hua serial, 10-cent version. By now, you should understand that the Duel on Mount Hua series is a prequel to the Condor trilogy. This series tells the story of the Great Five when they were younger. 10-cent further divided the Duel on Mount Hua series into 4 miniseries, or story units, each depicting different but interconnected characters and conflicts.
Eastern Heretic and Western Venom aired July 31st, 2025. 8 episodes. Main characters: Eastern Heretic Huang Yaoshi and West Venom Ouyang Feng. Southern Emperor and Northern Beggar aired August 5th, 2025. 8 episodes. Main characters: Southern Emperor Duan Zhixing and Northern Beggar Hong Qigong. Battle of the Five Great Masters aired August 10th, 2025. 6 episodes. Main characters: Huang Yaoshi, Ouyang Feng, Duan Zhixing, Hong Qigong, and Wang Chongyang. The 4 story units are Nine Yin True Sutra, aired July 26, 2025. 8 episodes, with main characters Huang Yaoshi and Mei Chao Feng. These 4 miniseries can be watched separately or out of sequence, as each miniseries is designed to be a standalone unit that can be watched independently. However, if you want to watch them in the right order, it's best to start with the Eastern Heretic and Western Venom, then the Southern Emperor and Northern Beggar. After that, the battle between these figures on Mount Hua to compete for the title of Greatest Warrior in the Battle of the Great Fives. And finally, the story of Mei Chao Feng, a disciple of the Eastern Heretic Wang Yaoshi, who seeks to master the Nine Yin True Sutra to avenge his family. Now let's take a brief look at each of these miniseries chronologically, not according to their release schedule. Synopsis of Eastern Heretic and West Venom. Eastern Heretic and Western Venom is the origin story of 2 great figures in the Jin Yong universe, Wang Yaoshi, the Eastern Heretic, and Ouyang Feng, the Western Venom, before they became 2 of the legendary 5 greats. The story begins in Bashu, where brutal murder sparks a conflict between powerful factions: Zijin Hall of Lin An, the renowned Chai family, and the Salt Gang, which controls the salt trade route. In this chaos, Ouyang Feng, traveling to Lin An, becomes caught up in a false accusation. Meanwhile, Feng Heng, the daughter of an official, is forced to flee after witnessing her father being murdered by his confidant. In desperation, she jumps off a cliff and is unexpectedly saved by Huang Yaoshi, an eccentric warrior who cares nothing for the rules of the world. As they journey, secrets from their pasts, power struggles, and personal grudges begin to emerge. Political intrigue and sectarian strife lead Huang Yaoshi and Ouyang Feng down the same path, a path that will change them forever and carve their names in the martial world. Southern Emperor and Northern Beggar tells the story of the early days of 2 great figures in the Jin Yong universe: Duan Zhixing, Crown Prince of Dali, and Hong Qi, a disciple of the Beggar sect, before they became 2 of the legendary 5 greats. Duan Zhixing flees a political arranged marriage and unexpectedly meets and forms a bond of friendship with Hong Qi, a disciple of the Beggar sect.
Due to a case of mistaken identity, a tribal girl named Yihua mistakes Hong Qi for her fiancé, a misunderstanding that later develops into a fateful relationship. Through a series of events, Hong Qi masters a deadly martial art and eventually becomes the leader of the Beggar sect. However, the friendship between Duan Zhixing and Hong Qi begins to erode as old grudges resurface, driving a wedge between them. The two friends turned rivals with a battle of soul power and technique. Duan Zhixing's One Yang Finger versus Hong Qi's 18 dragon-subduing palms, an epic martial arts duel that shook heaven and earth. Synopsis: The Battle of the Five Great Masters. Five powerful warriors from all over the world meet in a grand battle on Mount Hua. Chongyang, Huang Yaoshi, Ouyang Feng, Duan Zhixing, and Hong Qigong. They fight not only for supremacy, but to determine who is most worthy of wielding the Nine Yin Manual. This battle directly paves the way for the story of Legend of the Condor heroes. The story begins with the emergence of the legendary Nine Yin True Sutra, which sparks chaos in the martial world. A young woman named Jia Lan unexpectedly becomes a living map to find the manual, leading to her being pursued by many. During her escape, Jia Lan encounters several renowned warriors, such as Huang Yaoshi, Ouyang Feng, Duan Zhixing, and Hong Qi. They agree to settle the dispute over the manual through a duel at the summit of Mount Hua. The winner will be entitled to the Nine Yin True Sutra. Finally, Chongyang of the Chongyang sect emerges victorious. However, a surprise awaits when the mastermind behind this conflict is revealed, triggering a greater decisive battle for justice in the martial arts world. Synopsis of the Nine Yin True Sutra. The Nine Yin True Sutra reveals the origins of Mei Chao Feng, one of the most feared figures in Jianghu history, and the secret behind the birth of the Black-Wind twin evils. The story begins when the Mei family, wealthy merchants in Lin'an, are murdered by a confidant. In one bloody night, Mei Ruhua loses her entire family and is sold to a brothel. Having lived in humiliation for years, she harbors only one goal: revenge. Fate brings her together with Huang Yaoshi, the eccentric master of Peach Blossom Island, and his wife, Feng Heng. Although initially rejected, Mei's courage and loyalty lead Feng Heng to persuade her husband to accept her as a disciple. On Peach Blossom Island, Mei is given the new name Mei Chao Feng and begins to learn the martial arts that will shape her reputation. However, fate brings another test. Intrigue, Feng Heng's terminal illness, and her obsession with the Nine Yin True Sutra push Mei Chao Feng and her senior, Chen Xuanfeng, onto a dangerous path. The theft of the forbidden manual sparked great chaos, separating them from their master and fellow apprentices, and plunging them into a bloody conflict with Chu Yunhai and other enemies. Over time, Mei's revenge was successful, but happiness remained elusive. The loss of Chen Xuanfeng, Feng Heng's tragic death, and her guilt shaped her into a cold figure who relied solely on strength. Completely mastering the Nine Yin True Sutra, she abandoned her past as Mei Ruihua and transformed into the Black Wind Twin Evils, a name that would become a scourge in the martial arts world and a crucial part of the grand narrative of the Legend of the Condor heroes. Duel on Mount Hua is more than just a prequel.
It's the foundation for the entire epic Condor trilogy. Be sure to watch the entire series in the chronological order outlined in this video. This channel will also provide a recap or complete storyline of the entire Duel on Mount Hua series, so you can follow the story closely. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to get the full recap.
After Duel on Mount Hua, you can continue with the Condor Trilogy, starting with The Legend of the Condor Heroes, Return of the Condor Heroes, and finally, Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. Again, don't forget to subscribe to get the complete storyline of this series. See you in the next video.
他执念过深，容易走极端。
你现在下手，上可全身而退，回不去。